All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a book that took the map of human consciousness, a map mystics have used for centuries, and claimed it was dangerously incomplete. We're talking about Kenneth Grant's Nightside of Eden.
Okay, so for centuries, this has been the master blueprint for Western mysticism, the Qabalistic tree of life. And look, it's not just some cool diagram, it's meant to be a map of reality itself, showing you everything from how the divine creates the universe all the way down to the paths for your own spiritual journey. This is the official, accepted model. Yeah, this thing has always represented order, light, and climbing that spiritual ladder. But what if that map is missing, like half the territory? What if it's only showing us the world when the sun is up? And that is where Kenneth Grant comes in and just blows the whole thing open. He says that for generations, we've only been shown the positive, well-lit side of the map. He argues there's this entire other dimension to reality that hasn't just been overlooked, it's been deliberately hidden away. Okay, so before we step into that hidden world, let's just quickly get our bearings with the map everyone thinks they know. Right, so think of this tree as a blueprint for, well, everything. You've got these 10 spheres, the Sephiroth. Think of them as cosmic power stations, and they're all connected by 22 different paths. The whole game is to climb, right? You start at the bottom in our material world and work your way up to pure divine unity. It's a path toward the light. But Grant's work, it forces us to look down, to look at the reflection in the water, at the shadow this very tree casts. And yeah, this right here, this visualizes the entire idea perfectly. Grant's theory is that for every single sphere, for every single path on that dayside tree, there's a dark mirror, a reflection on the night side. He calls it the tree of death. And it's not just an empty space. He says it's a whole other reality, just waiting in the shadows. So what is this shadow tree actually made of? It all comes down to this one word, clip-off. It literally means husks or shells, which kind of sounds empty, doesn't it? But here's the kicker. Grant completely flips this idea on its head. He says they're not empty shells at all. No, they're bursting with this raw, chaotic, primal energy, basically all the stuff we've pushed down and called demonic. So you might be wondering, okay, that's great, but how do you even get to this night side? Well, Grant points to a very specific and very, very dangerous doorway. That doorway is called Dath. It means knowledge. You'll often see it on the Tree of Life as this sort of phantom circle, because it's not really a place. It's more like a state of being. It is the abyss, a transition point where all your concepts, even your own sense of self, just start to fall apart. And that, Grant says, is the gateway. Grant literally describes this as plunging through a hole in space. I mean, think about that. This is not some casual stroll. It's an act of total ego dissolution. To even peek at the night side, you have to be willing to let go of everything you think you are. Okay, so what if you actually make it through? What's on the other side of that abyss? You'd find yourself in this huge, dark network, a twisted mirror of the familiar paths you thought you knew. See, just like the day side has its 22 paths, Grant says the night side has 22 corresponding tunnels of set. But these aren't well-lit highways. No, think of them more like a creepy, winding underground labyrinth of pure primal consciousness. This is what connects the spheres of the shadow tree. And get this, what's so fascinating here is how systematic Grant is about all of it. This isn't just some vague, spooky metaphor. He lays out a whole system, a grimoire for the shadow world, complete with these 22 sigils for what he calls the sentinels that guard each and every tunnel. It's like a practical, if terrifying, roadmap to the subconscious. So what kind of stuff do you find down in these tunnels? Well, this image from the book called The Demon Feast kind of gives you the vibe. These tunnels are teeming with forces that represent our deepest fears, our rawest desires, all the stuff society tells us to lock away and forget about. In Grant, he's a master at this. He connects this whole psychic landscape to ancient myths, especially to these old, forgotten, so-called dark gods and goddesses, like Hecate, the queen of witchcraft and Crossroads. He's basically saying these old gods never left. They just went underground, into our subconscious. And let's be absolutely clear here. This is not a safe journey. It's incredibly risky, psychologically speaking. Grant uses this piece of art, Trapeze Tragedy, to get that point across. It's all about that feeling of vertigo, of losing your balance, of the self just completely dissolving. It's about facing the raw instability at the very core of who you are. Okay, so all of this sounds absolutely terrifying and dangerous, right? Which leads to the million-dollar question. Why? Why on earth would anyone want to do this? What's the point of it all? Grant's answer is, well, it's pretty blunt. He basically says any spiritual path that pretends this stuff doesn't exist is at best incomplete. For him, you can't achieve real wholeness, what he calls full magical initiation, if you're only looking at half the map.
So, and this is really important, the goal here isn't to become evil or anything like that. For Grant, it's all about becoming whole. First, it's about integration. You got to bring the hidden parts of your subconscious into the light. Then it's about completion, getting a true 360-degree view of reality, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And finally, it's about power, reclaiming all that raw primal energy that's been labeled evil and putting it to work for you. In the end, Nightside of Eden throws down this massive challenge, and it's not just for occultists. It's a question for anyone interested in psychology or just understanding themselves. It really makes you ask, is your own inner shadow a monster you need to slay, or is it a lost, powerful part of yourself that you just need the courage to face and understand? Grant's whole point is that you don't find real light by pretending the dark doesn't exist. You find it by lighting a lantern and walking right into it.